Okay. I'm feeling fairly sore and low energy, so this is going to be a mostly restorative kind of gentle movements practice. A few deep breaths. Just settle. All right. Bring your feet a little wider than shoulder width. And we'll bring our arms up to the sky and take a few more deep breaths. As if your fingers are being pulled up by magnets. All right. And let's lean over to the right and start to come down toward the ground, feeling a nice stretch through your left side body and your back. Make your way down until your left hand is just outside your right foot. And from here, find some gentle movement. Move the stretch from your shoulder blade into your back, into your side, maybe into the outside of your right leg as well. Find easy movement and find some nice stretches here. You can bend your right knee and find a stretch on the inside of your left leg. All right, and we're going to slowly walk your hands over to the other side. Feeling a nice stretch now through the left leg. And if you want to bring your arm up to get the feeling of that stretch on your right side body again, that's great. Find some stillness for a few seconds here. Okay, from here, move with a sense of stillness, as much as that's possible. From that place of stillness, turn your left foot to face the front of the mat, and your right foot. And we're now in a kind of forward folded triangle pose, which is great as a stretch through your front leg, your left leg. If you're like me and you've been doing a lot of work on strengthening your legs, your glutes, your calves, all of it, this is a really, really nice stretch to counter some of that hard work you've been putting in. Loosening up the tight muscles in the leg so nothing's getting pulled on and nothing's twisting out of alignment. I've been rocking back and forth here, which is lovely, but now find a little bit of stillness in this pose as well. Remembering to keep your back straight, your lower back particularly straight, so that your belly button is pulled right down onto your thigh. All right, step up into a forward fold, a standing forward fold. Feet together or nearly together. And just hang out here for a breath or two. Belly button to the thighs. Okay, now bring your left leg back a step so that your right leg is now the front of the triangle. And find a nice stretch through that right leg. A lot of tight muscles here. Keep in mind that the project of releasing these tight muscles and getting your leg evenly supported, and your body evenly supported for that matter, it's a long-term project. There's no rush. We don't need to do anything today that's going to make a massive change. We're just gently spending time in the stretch. If you've been rocking, maybe find some stillness for a few breaths. And if you've been static, maybe find some movement for a few breaths. Now I'm spending a little bit longer here on this right leg because I'm noticing that I am a lot tighter in the right leg, and there's some muscles that I want to spend time with the stretch here. But if your left leg is tighter, feel free to go back to your left leg, or feel free to find a different emphasis in this stretch that works for you. This whole process is largely about being more in your body and listening better to your body. So any pose or form that I give you isn't really a rule to follow, it's just kind of a starting place for you to go from. Now, if you're doing the kind of exercise that I'm doing, it's likely that the kind of stretches I'm doing will also be useful for you. But definitely tailor it to your own needs. Okay. Alright, come back up to a forward fold. And now that your legs are nice and loose, Your hands don't have to be on the ground, by the way. I'm just quite flexible. So wherever your hands may fall, if it's up here, doesn't matter. Belly button to the thighs is the most important part for this forward fold. So do a little bit of pedaling, straightening one leg and then the other. And a nice addition you can do to this stretch is when you straighten your right leg, lift your right hand up and open your chest out. If you lean that arm forward, you can find a better stretch for the outside of your leg, which can be really nice. All these stretching variations are about finding different angles, different directions to pull the muscle from so that you can expand it and relax it more completely. Over to the left for the same thing. Bend your right knee, straighten your left, and lift your left hand up. Opening your chest outward for a nice stretch through your outer left leg. And back to center. All right, let's bring it down to the knees. So bring your knees forward in between your hands. Okay, and walk it back to the center of the mat. And we'll come into tabletop position. And we'll do a couple of good rounds of cat-cow here, taking nice full inhalations and exhalations. Arching your back to look up on the inhale, and exhaling. Sorry, not arching your back. Yeah, arching your, well, depends which way the arch is facing, I guess. Bend your belly down like a cow on the inhale. I'm sure I don't need to say this. And arch your back up on the exhale. Alright, now let's play with some spinal stretching in the other direction. So instead of bringing your hips up and down, we'll bring our hips to the right and walk our left hand also over to the right to find a stretch through the side body. In fact, you know what? Your hips don't even need to go to the right. Your hips can stay square, but if you bring your left hand all the way off the mat over on the right side and then come down kind of into a puppy pose, you'll find a nice stretch through your left side body, and you can move around through the range of that stretch and find wherever you need it most. Alright, back to center, and same thing on the other side. Bring the right hand off the mat to the left, and find a stretch through the right side body, up into the right shoulder and the right arm. Alright, very nice. Let's come onto a seat in the middle of the mat and bring your feet together in front of you. And we're going to get some more good leg stretching going here for the inner thighs and also the glutes. So feet together and bring them as close or as far away from you as you like, to the point where you can find the stretches, again, that you can most benefit from today. And while you're here, you know what? Maybe give your feet a little massage. Your feet are doing a lot of work to support you, whether it's just in your daily life or whether you're doing yoga or other forms of exercise. Your feet are doing a lot of good work, so give them some love. Yeah. Massage all your toes, maybe. The arches of your feet, your heels. Get some blood flowing in there. All right. So, the stretch here can come in your inner thighs, and you can lean around, maybe make some nice circles with your upper body to find different areas of this stretch for you and see what's necessary for you today. I think I'm going to focus on finding a stretch in my glutes and my outer legs here, as well as extending that up into my side body as I push down on my left leg and I lean towards the right. I can find that connecting muscle up from my leg into my torso and give that whole system a stretch. Same on the other side, lean to the left. Push that right leg down for a stretch. Ooh yeah, through the outer right leg and through the right side body. And bringing my arm up to the sky makes the right side body stretch a lot more apparent. Alright, do some nice circles. Find every angle of this stretch. Maybe some stretches you wouldn't normally find. You can lift one knee up and twist to the other side. So I've got my left knee up with my left foot on the floor. And I'm pushing into it with my left elbow as I twist to the right to open up my inner left thigh. And find some interesting variations. Make some poses up for yourself here. Or you can follow what I'm doing. But I'm just making poses up for myself too. Finding ways to feel into all the muscles that have been getting worked so hard over the last couple of weeks. My body has been really supporting me and growing, and I've got to properly take care of it. All right, very nice. Come up onto the onto the feet here into a little crouch position. This is one that I really like. I've never really seen it anywhere formally, but if you bring your hands behind you, either palms on the ground with your fingertips facing back, or your fists on the ground with your knuckles facing forward, or whatever, however your hands are comfortable. And then come up onto your toes, bringing your knees forward. If this is all okay on your joints, if your feet aren't screaming out at you here or your knees, then you can do a little bit of back and forth, bringing one knee out and down and then the other to get a stretch through the front of the thighs. You can also find a stretch through your shoulders here and rotate them and find different angles of support. Alright. Very nice. Very nice. Let's come down onto the mat with our legs out in front of us. And we'll come back into that same stretch we were doing earlier. Now that our muscles are so nice and warm, but seated forward fold. Legs right out in front, and bend them generously as much as you need. And then bend from the bending point. Don't let your back be the hinge here. Your belly button should come right down towards your thighs. And this is really as far as my body wants to go right now. So I'm going to find a place I can hold on and give it just a little bit of a deeper stretch than that. A little bit more pull. And I'm going to rotate a bunch of times my upper body from right to left. I'm going to stop talking and take some deep breaths for a while as I get the outside of this leg in my little twists. If you're ever doing one of these, and these videos I mean, and you find that they're slow or long, you know, if you don't want that, that's okay. But think of them as meditation. I've had trouble whenever I've tried meditating just because it's hard for me to sit still and do nothing and think nothing. And I think it's hard for everyone, really. And engaging the body gives you something to focus on that is challenging enough that it can take up your attention. but it's also something that brings you into the present, into your body, into the felt presence of immediate experience. All right. Very nice. Let's come up to standing once again and do a little bit of lunging. This has ended up being a very lower body focused stretching. I'll probably put that in the video title. From a standing position with nice square hips, let's bring our right foot forward and left foot back, and we can lower down with our hands and maybe slowly widen our stance into a nice lunge to get a good stretch through the top of that back leg. I'm not really using this as a strength building position. I'm not putting much weight in my, I'm not really holding myself up with my legs here. I'm leaning on my hands a fair amount. Try to keep your hips as square as possible and play around with moving that back knee up and down to deepen the stretch. You try straightening your front leg, coming into a really wide triangle here. All of this gets slightly different angles on that stretch. We're really warming up these muscles and deepening into them. All right, let's switch. Back, or right leg to the back, and bring your left leg up to the front and maybe walk it up with your toes to widen your stance. Stretching now through the top of your right leg. Keep your hips nice and square. Take some deep breaths. And maybe straighten your front leg. Do it slowly so that you don't get any clicks in your knees or anything. That's something I'm susceptible to, so I'm being careful of it. Just move through your supported range. Adjust if you need to come into a stretch of your front leg. All right. I want to do one last, come up to standing. I want to do one last little routine here before we close. This has been pretty much all stretching and restorative, but let's finish it off with a somewhat more active pose, kind of in the same vein though. We're going to do one leg balances. But let's, I guess I was just in a triangle, but let's go back to one. Start with the right leg forward this time, just into a nice, not too wide-legged stance, but just a triangle. And come down to a forward fold in that, with your hands on the floor, and we're gonna rock forward. You can feel for a while into this stretch again if you need to. Get comfortable, get the muscle, feel into the muscle, so you know what's happening. And we're gonna slowly rock forward and back, and forward and back. And at the front of your rocks, start lifting your back leg up off the ground in a nice, slow, supported swinging. And one of these times, when you rock forward, you can keep your foot lifted. Put as much weight in your hands as you'd like to, and keep your right knee as generously bent as you need to make sure it's supported. You don't want any pain or funniness in your knee here. You want to establish the pathway of support through your knee joint without pressure going into the joint itself. As you put weight on your right leg, your right glute should really be turning on. If you're feeling strong and confident, maybe lift your hands up and rise up to stand on that one leg. I've been doing a lot of this recently, so my legs are quite tired. I'm not going to do it for too long. Working this whole range of motion, trying to move through the whole range with support so that when the time comes to actually have to support a lot of weight through that range of motion, we've already got the muscle pathways there ready to go to protect our knees and all our joints. Alright, bring the left foot up to meet the right, and the right foot back into the triangle pose on the other side. And find some rocking forward and back. Feel into that left leg. Feel the stretch through the whole muscle pathway, connecting your ankles up through your knees and the back of your calves, up into your thighs, into your glutes. And as you rock forward and back, start to lift up your right leg as you come forward onto your left. And bring more of your weight onto your left leg, finding a nice supported position. Building strength in proper alignment here. I'm trying to find the proper alignment of this leg so that it's, I have spent a lot of time existing with some of my leg muscles really tight and underused so that they're not doing the work they could be doing to support me properly. So we're not just going into support ourselves in a perfect one-legged stand. We're rocking back and forth to stretch out these muscles, feel into the activation of them, and find the right pathways to support the movements we're trying to do. And it'll be different on both sides. All right. Well, that ended up not being too much balancing for me. Whew, and mostly just more stretching. Whew. But that was just what I needed. I hope it was just what you needed also.